Hey guys, what's going on? This is your boy Christian Israel, and you are tuning into the New Creation Capital podcast, a place where we discuss what happens in the world today, where we discuss the stories that focus on current events, the stock market, and digital assets. This is a new you, a new future, and a new creation. I hope you guys are doing well today. Today is April 7, 2020, but at the time of this recording, it is April 6, 2020, Monday. I hope you guys had a great Monday. As always, thank you guys for tuning in and thank you guys for listening. You can catch us on Apple Podcast, Breaker, Google Podcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, Spotify, and of course the Anchor platform. And not only the Anchor platform, but you can find us as well on YouTube. For those of you who are first-time listeners, not only is this a podcast that you can listen to on those platforms, but on YouTube, I kind of go over all the news and you can actually see what I am talking about depending on what you like. Some people are visual, some people are strictly audio. So on the Anchor platform alone, you can see some of our last episodes. I hope you guys enjoyed yesterday's episode 14, which is details into the money that Ripple, the details to the agreement between Ripple and MoneyGram, and then they asked a question about some money that was moving. So that was episode 14. We're now in episode 15. If you guys also want to converse with me, you can hit me up on my Twitter at NewCreationCap. Appreciate it. You can see here we tweet not only about news and stock, we also got some TA here, just some other little information going on my Twitter, which is at NewCreationCap. Also, last but not least, you can find all of our content on the PublishOX.com website, where you can see anything and everything we post. You can find here in one spot to get our audio and our visual here, just like this. You see there's the audio, there's the visual, and all the links to all the things that we talk about. Okay, so I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Let's go ahead and dive on in to see what the charts are doing today before we talk about the news of the day. So we see here right now, this first chart you're seeing is our hour chart, and it's Bitcoin. The reason I'm showing you the charts today, we had a nice little surge in Bitcoin. As you can see here, the red spots are parts where I predicted where we would break out. And we did break out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times now. We're currently trying to break out of this ascending triangle as we broke out of the pennant flag here, as you can see. Now, we are coming and running up to some resistance around the 7,300 mark, but we are also back testing the ascending triangle, which happens to also be a fib. An overall fib retracement. So we're trying to build some new support here and broke it through that resistance for the first time, guys. I know we're excited. Bitcoin is up on the day. So just doing some things. When we look over to XRP and we load it, we still see we're in the ascending channel here. We also ran up against the 0.706, I think it is. Let me check. What fib is that? I'm sorry, the 0.618 fib. We ran up exactly and touched and got rejected by the 0.618 fib at the top of this ascending channel. And we're sitting at 19.3 cents right now. We've been moving on up. We're still above a lot of the major moving averages now on the 4-hour timeline. So we are moving. Let's check into the Dow Jones and see how the Dow Jones did today. The Dow Jones is up overall 7.73% on the day. Everything really moved up today, up 1,600 points. However, as you can see here, we are still down 23.1% over the last 90 days based on when all of this started, the COVID virus, the market dumps, or whatever you want to call this, the financial breakdown. We're still 23% down, even though we had a 7% gain today. The lowest we got to on this chart, as you can see here, is 38.47% in the wrong way in south. So this is a monthly chart. We back it up. We've touched right where our previous support is, and we've bounced up, and now we're kind of trying to settle and see what happens. This is a previous area, as you can see, that was support back in December of 18, February 19. December and January of 2019. This was a support area. Now we're using it as resistance. It's flipped, just like we're trying to flip Bitcoin and XRP. It's flipped here on the Dow Jones. Now let's go back and look at the dollar, and something I was looking at earlier here. We can see here. Let's go all the way. I didn't reset this. The dollar itself is moving and shaking. It is up 10 cents right now, currently sitting at straight at $100.78. I actually drew some fib lines where it retraced from the 99% point back on February 24th, 2020, which this is the daily. It jumped up. It hit the point 1.618 and retraced down, touched off the 0.702, and now it hit off the 1.236 fib, and is currently being rejected there. Now I show you that because we see this pattern. I just happened to be looking at this and saw another pattern. If we reverse and back up to 2017, and we all know what's going on in 2017. That was our last bull run. A lot of people believe in the Bitcoin crypto market now and XRP, just the crypto market in general, that we have bottomed and we are moving up. And the last few weeks kind of show that. Now, we still got some things depending on if we break through that ascending triangle. But as other people like the blockchain backer and DIY investing, if you haven't talked to those guys, check out their channels. Great TA folks. They talk about the dollar and how it relates to what goes on the bull market. So I decided to look at that too, and I check these things. As I say, I like to do TA. And we kind of have the same movement here. There it is, the 1.618 comes down, retested here, and then look, we were off to start our bull market. Okay, and the dollar continued to decrease in value, and we're kind of looking at the same thing right now, just the start of that, 1.236. Now it depends, are we going to reject and continue to go down again and figure out this Elliott wave? So that's kind of what's going on there. Just wanted to give you guys a little bit of TA. I'm not breaking it down too much for you. This is not financial advice, just to let you know what's going on in the charts. Again, overall, we're going to go to Market Watch so you guys can see. The Dow, again, finished up 7.73%, up 16 points at 22,679. The S&P finished up 7%, up 175 points, finishing at 2663. The NASDAQ also finished up 7.33%, up 540 points, sitting at 7913. The global Dow also up 4.86%, sitting at 2479. Gold even went up 3.77%, up to 1707. And oil, of course, had its retracement after a big week, couple days last week, down 7.2% at 2630. So those of you got in, you hit that fib line and got out. So hopefully you guys are doing well. Before we jump into the story of the day, I want to make sure that you guys understand that this is not financial advice, as we always have to say, because I know people are going to buy and trade off what we do. The whole point is to give you news, let you do your own research. If you got questions about TA, questions about things, we will gladly help you. Again, hit us up. You can leave me a message right here on the New Creation Podcast site. Or you can hit us up on Twitter at New Creation Cap, and we'll answer those questions. I have no problem sharing charts with you. You can see our last tweet was a chart, the chart that I already showed you, and talking about Bitcoin dominance, etc., etc., etc. So we'd love for you guys to tune in and help, or we'd love for you guys to tune in and give some feedback or ask questions, and we can help you with that. The point of this channel is to inform you on all different levels. And with that, I came across something on the Digital Asset Investors channel where he came across this video here. I don't know who the original was. Someone sent it to him and he played it, and then he got me searching about Ripple doing chips and ARMs and all this stuff, and I went back and wanted to watch this specific video as well. Catherine Austin Fitch used to work in the House with Secretary Clinton. Well, I think it's the Clinton administration. Yeah, she helped run that. She talks about that a little bit in this interview, but this interview is from Greg Hunter on April 4th. I'm sure you've seen it everywhere, but she's talking about some things. So I wanted to play this part for you. I'm not the whole one. I'll put the link in the description so you can listen to the whole one, but just about 7 minutes of it. So I'll play it for you so you can listen, just for your ears, that if you haven't come across the Digital Asset Investors channel where you haven't heard this video yet, I want to play it to make sure that you get it. So I'm gonna go ahead and play it, and let's listen to it.
I mean, it's awful. I mean, and so you think that we're getting a dress rehearsal for control, some type of war? This is way more than this, because it's a hoax. I mean, the hospital ship.
Well, let's step
three
back.
People on it in New York.
Let's step back and look at where the dollar syndicate wants to go.
Yeah.
So the important thing to understand, Greg, about where many of them, it's not everybody, but where many of them would like to go, they want to end currency.
paper currency, folding,
right
money
now
clips.
we have a currency system.
Yeah.
You put $1 in your pocket, I put $1 in my pocket. Your dollar and my dollar have the same value because they function in a market. It may be rigged, it may be influenced, it may be manipulated, but we can put $1 in our pocket and walk away and trade it without going through a digital mechanism. If you move to crypto, and I just want to really underscore this, crypto is not a currency. It's a control system. So you move to a crypto and you're on the company system and you have a credit at the company store. And if you have a crypto and I have a crypto, your crypto can be arbitrarily taken away or changed in value if you don't behave. It's not a currency. It's a credit at the company store. And it's one that is not your asset. That is a credit at the company store. It's an asset of the company and they can take it away or change its value like that. Now, if you look at the current currency, it's on a petrodollar standard. So it used to be on a gold standard. And it went to being on a petrodollar standard after the Nixon shock broke the gold standard. Now they're talking about a credit system on the company store that will have as its collateral a human being. So you see Bill Gates come out with tech with ID 2020. So every human being has a biometric ID, and that can be tied with the currency system. We can talk about how that may or may not happen. But they're talking about changing from an oil standard to human standard, and where I come from, we call that slavery. Mm-hmm. So where the dollar syndicate wants to go is what you and I know as Christians as mark of the beast. This is moving into a mark of the beast system, which is not a currency system, it's a control system. So it's the end of currencies, is what they're proposing.
In some way, shape, or form. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but that's what they're working towards.
Well, if you look at the planning and the design and the competition, it's fluid right now. There's competition over what the design will be. It was very interesting. I won't bore you with all the details, but I had an incredible experience in Denmark a year ago, and I was trying to figure out what's going on in Denmark. They had one of the tech firms in Denmark was being paid by the U.S. Navy to come up with a chip that could be implanted in the human body that would integrate with Ripple. Yeah. So Ripple is a crypto, and it's one that's gotten a lot of promotion from the American establishment, in my experience, just my impression. So why is the U.S. Navy paying a Danish tech company to come up with an implantable chip that will integrate with Ripple? Exactly.
You're telling me that all these small businesses have crashed and now they're going to loan them money. And you said this in the pre-interview, and you just said, "Wow, what a extortion racket! What a money, what a loan sharking operation." Could you explain what's going on with all these small businesses? We have the labor market's 10 million people.
When I worked in the Bush administration, one of the things I got an incredible education is the extent to which a government contractor loan allows the government in terms of audit, enforcement, and regulation to really get deeply in your business. Okay. So if you do a deal, it's like doing a deal with the sheriff of Nottingham. You give them a real avenue into all your data, all your knowledge, and the ability to run up a hell of a lot of compliance and accounting fees. Having litigated with the federal government over one contract for 11 years, it took me 36,000 free hours, unpaid hours, and $6 million. So anyway, but so I'm watching millions of small business and proprietorships all over the country being shut down by the new travel and quarantine restrictions. And as that happened in the stimulus bill, so you see the Fed and Wall Street helping hedge funds out, in very short notice. What do they offer to all the small businesses being shut down on Main Street? They offer loans. Well, the small businesses on Main Street don't need loans. They need profits, right?
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
They
So they offer loans. Well, then the terms, I get an email yesterday from somebody proposing the loan to me. Well, I got two emails. One was from somebody encouraging investment advisors to promote the loans. And apparently they're offering the banks that do it 1% to 5% fees. So if you borrow $250,000 on a small SBA loan, the bank gets a 5% fee. Are you ready for this? Guess what the interest rate they were offering? 5.75%. So the New York Fed member banks can borrow at the Fed window for 0 or 1 to 0%. But so they can borrow using my federal credit at 1 to 0%. But then they lend me my own money at 5.75% and get a 5% fee.
Wow.
Is that not amazing?
Amazing.
Now it gets even
sharking fraud, the stimulus.
I borrow a $250,000 loan from my federal credit that I'm liable for when the federal government is missing $21 trillion, which works out to $65,000 a person. So if you're a small business guy with a family of 4, that's $250,000.
Yeah.
Why shouldn't the government just give you your $250,000 back?
Yeah, because they stole it.
Right.
And
So I just wanted to play that for you. There's a lot to take in that specific section where she talks. Again, I apologize because she actually works for the Bush administration, but she hits a couple of things there. One of those was humans as currency, which is crazy because she didn't talk about all these different currencies. She talked about Ripple working with the U.S. Navy with the Danish tech company. And if you Google it, I won't play these because, Digital Asset Investor played these things. So go check out his video yesterday. He digs more into that. So I'm going to send you guys to his to dig more into this specific topic. Or type in XRP, cryptocurrency, mark of the beast. If you guys aren't familiar with what the mark of the beast is, and she says to Christians, in the Bible, it talks about in Revelations, which is the last book, it's the book of prophecy, which will happen to the end times. There's something in there that says there will be rumors of wars, famine, earthquakes, and then there will be what's called the mark of the beast in people's right hand, where you will not be able to buy or sell anything without the one world government's approval. Now, again, this book was written almost 2,000 years ago, this specific book, Revelation, and it's talking about basically what we have today and that technology. But outside of that, she also touches on what is that currency is not money, it's a control system, that the crypto is going to be a control system. And I'll play some of this stuff and go on this tomorrow and show you some of the Vice's if you haven't looked up Vice News surveillance, Chinese surveillance, they actually go back and they completely go and you can't buy or sell or use toilet paper with anything without everything being connected to your eyes, your face, or a chip or anything. Like, you can't move on your own. And that's kind of where we're going to right now. I actually have something in one of my episodes. In one of the episodes on our blog, if you again go to publish, you can go to the publish. Let me actually use this here. You can go to our publish, and I did something about 5G recently. Let's see here. It is let's see. It is called It's episode 11. There it is. I had to find it. Episode 11 is 5G really a threat? And I digs more into that surveillance aspect of it. And go and listen to it. The audio there is not so visual, so you're better off going to the podcast and listening to it here. But it discusses kind of the control aspect of it. So we see, again, I talked about the digital dollar and was it planned? We talk about a lot of that. And when I started digging into Ripple and XRP, I thought it was just a cryptocurrency. And now when I start to Google more, I'm starting to see, you hear Brad Garlinghouse himself literally say it's not just going to be a currency. The distributed ledger technology is just not for XRP. There's a lot of other things, and the fact that they're working with the regulators, the Treasury, and the government, and the Department of Defense. You can see that when I went through their 10K paper with the SEC filings as a company. So I think it's really interesting, and if you haven't had a chance, you should really go check out. I'm going to continue to dig into those kind of things on this channel because I think it's important when you hear things like humans will be currency. Well, that's exactly what's going on in China right now. Tomorrow, I'm going to play that for you. I'm going to show you the human as currency and how it works in a something from Vice News. It's really important. And then another part that she talks about in there is how if you have an SBA loan with the government as a business, you apply, but that the banks are getting that for nothing. It's not costing the banks $1 to give you the loan. Instead, they're getting 5% interest given to them by the government for holding the loan, but then they turn around and give you your own money and charge you 5.25%. So they're double dipping on the loan and then charging you for your own money the government was going to give you anyway. And then after that, you're eventually getting your money. When you do that, now you've had the government dig into your business, dig into your finances, and continue to control you. And as we see here with the stock in the market, the money's going out, but people are losing their jobs. 10 million people have lost their jobs so far. For some reason, we are seeing, as you can see here, I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to zoom out to, let's see, the weekly here. Let's go to the daily. The daily on the Dow Jones Index. And for some reason, we are seeing it bottomed out at 1815, so it's up 4,000 points. But it's for some reason it's hitting that reshaped recovery, even though it surged 1,600 points today, right? It's hitting that recovery mark. And what's curious to me is that employment rate is going up. It's going up, 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 up. It's almost like the Dow Jones. The higher the Dow Jones gets, the now more people becoming unemployed. Where's that money going? You know why? We haven't got our money yet. We see that certain people in the Congress and the Senate, they don't want to move it. They still want to work with the banking system. Banking is old technology. SWIFT is gone. We know we're moving towards a digital asset. They've been planning this for a while. The World Economic Forum, FinTech, Christine Lagarde, IMF, Ripple. We've talked about all this with the digital dollar. Coinbase, we've gone over all this. However, we still got people getting in the way. And you heard Trump say a couple days ago, old technology is getting in the way of this, and we're going to move. You know, the Chinese yuan, the digital dollar Chinese yuan is getting ready to go forward, and other things. Actually, that got me on a topic to see about the digital dollar. It says here, there's an article here on the Bitcoinist.com. It says Bank of Korea begins central bank digital currency rollout. This article was written today. Written by Christina Combin, and basically here it says talks of the CBDC, central bank digital currency, may have taken a backseat for many world banks right now. Yet, despite claiming there was no reason for just a couple of months ago, the Bank of Korea has unveiled a 22-month pilot plan. Now, we know that nothing is temporary with the government. So for them to put a 22, that's 2 years. They're going to put a 2-year pilot plan to run a CBDC. And it says Bank of Korea about to turn on digital currency. It seems as if the Bank of Korea has done an about turn on the importance of CBDC, central bank digital currency, despite its skeptical stance in early February. Bank executives have now decided to adjust their plans for insurance of Korean central bank digital currency. It will be following steps similar to those laid out by Japan and the United States, according to the Korean Times. So apparently, South Korea is also doing what Japan and the United States are already doing. Okay, so hold on. If this crisis came out of nowhere and the economy and finance were just fine, how does how does the Bank of Korea already know what the United States was doing when it comes to digital dollar? According to the government, what they tell us is that this came out of nowhere last week and they're going to figure it out. But we hear people like Steve Mnuchin saying the underbanked. You can see that on our Twitter. We talk about him saying the underbanked. The underbanked. which we know that's what Brad Garlinghouse House of Ripple says. They talk about banking the unbanked, banking the underbanked, and getting that out, getting that technology. And it goes on to say here, whether the ongoing coronavirus pandemic and looming economic threat are factors at play are uncertain, but for now, the Bank of Korea is ready to try out tests of over 22 months to see how well a digital currency can replace paper money. Again, as you heard Catherine say in this interview right here, Catherine Altfitz, she said, this is not, the currency is not about money, it's about control. And, replacing the petrodollar. And if you know what that means, it means the U.S. dollar is the world currency right now. Right now, you have, before the U.S. currency, the U.S. dollar used to be backed by gold. And when everyone else got backed by the U.S. dollar, which was backed by gold, it was powerful. But when we came off the gold standard, then the U.S. dollar was backing everybody, and the U.S. dollar was backed by nothing. Right now, the U.S. dollar is banked by nothing. So that's why we can just print. But what happens is that continues to put other people in a higher debt, and they're going to want to get off the U.S. dollar. Now, fiat is not going away. The U.S. dollar itself is not going away. We're still going to have the digital dollar, the United States digital coin, for instance, that runs on Coinbase and some other slots. You've been seeing that pop up. However, the U.S. dollar will no longer be, and I'm not the first to say this, but I'm saying this on this station right now. The U.S. dollar will not be a world currency in 2 years. It will be a U.S. dollar, stay our fiat, that will move through Ripple and XRP into the same system, and it will exchange money. That's the whole point of intermittent exchange. It will no longer, we see the oil market tanking because the Saudis and Russia just want to cut the prices, period. Put the U.S. workers out of jobs. It's another way to do it. Cut in the pockets. Force that U.S. dollar to be gone. You see people, if they're not backed by gold now, the economy is hurting. So I believe you're going to have a gold standard, a set price with XRP running and moving all that. So everyone's fiat's going to be backed by gold and pushed forward and moved based on XRP. And I think that's important. The XRP distributed ledger platform, that's what's going to move everything. Okay? So this goes on to say, let's see here. That's pretty much the end of this article. This will be in the end, but it says here, the Bank of Korea also decided to remain proactive in the rapid shift in payment environments here and abroad. So we're going to set up the CBDC pilot system and check technical and legal issues surrounding its introduction here. So now they're talking about making payments across the intermittent cross-border payments, best way to say it. So let me know what you guys think of this article. Again, this will be a link to the article in the description, and we can move on to the next article, which is written by Cointelegraph.com, and this is written by Samuel Hague on April 3rd, and it came across talking about that as hospitals crumble, Venezuela's president airdrops Petros to doctors. Petros is a currency. Now, if you are a follower of the currency and you're a day trader or you're a hodler, you would see Dash at one point was up, I don't know, what was it, $200? I think it hit $200 before all this crash. It was going up as Venezuela's, where the U.S. could go if they keep printing money. Venezuela now just prints and prints money so much that they've lost complete faith in their currency, and now they've moved on, and you saw Dash really move up and really move up and really move up because Dash is something that is ran a lot in Venezuela. It's pretty much used as some payment technology there. Anyway, the article goes on to say, Nicolas Maduro, a former bus driver and Venezuela's sitting president. Well, that's impressive. Nicolas Maduro was a former bus driver to president. That's like the American dream, from bus driver to president. Has announced a campaign to support his country's medical staff amid the coronavirus pandemic by airdropping 1 petro to each doctor. 1 petro, I wonder how much that's worth. The Doctors of the Homeland initiative will see each Venezuelan doctor airdropped one of the administration's oil-backed petro currency tokens, as per an April 2nd tweet published by the government official. Now, I think that's interesting because what caught my eye was not the fact that he was giving them some money, some petrodollar, oil currency. It's the fact the key word here was airdropping, okay? Airdropping means I'm going to send it to your phone. Boom. How we're talking about how we can get our stimulus drop. Airdrop the $1,200 to those who qualify. Lousy, measly $1,200 to those who qualify for the government the COVID-19 stimulus package. For those who qualify, airdrop it. Not into our bank accounts, which seems to be taking forever. Not for us to apply, not by checks, but hitting a button and send it to our phone. We know they can do it. We already know they can do it. I mean, if you can't, you download you download the Coinbase app. Perfect example. Download the Coinbase app, do KYC, which is know your customer, and boom, there's your tax information. We already have to fill that out anyway if you're in the U.S. If you use a Kraken or a Coinbase or whatever else a KYC is here, Binance US, and they can just send you it. Boom. I mean, using the distributed ledger technology, the XRapid, the XRP ledger, it just move it. We showed you that it takes 3 seconds to go point A to point B, done. That's instantly. That doesn't take 3 to 4 weeks, maybe to type it all in and get it to everybody, but once they hit enter, it should be there. And that's what President Maduro is talking about here, dropping that petrodollar bonus to the doctors. It goes on to say here that the tokens will be distributed using Venezuela's Patria system, a platform launched by the government to bypass the nation's failing bank system and issue bonuses and subsidies. I messed up that word yesterday too. Using the cryptographic token. There it is. I'm going to read that one more time. I'm going to highlight it here. The tokens will be distributed using Venezuela's Patria system, a platform launched by the government to bypass the nation's failing banking system and issue bonuses and subsidies using the cryptographic token. So right there, platform launched, Coinbase. Past the banking system, straight to them, airdrop it. Boom. Perfect. I mean, it goes on to talk about crumbling hospitals, adoption, and how they're going to move it. But I think by giving the doctors right there, they're giving them money right there on the spot. Amazing article, amazing thought process. You think the U.S. can do it? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Again, this link will be in the description below. Let's move on to the next story. All right, I found this interesting too. This is on Bitcoinist.com. Here it says, it's written by Trevor Smith on April 4th, 2020. And this is important because a lot of us put our stuff on nanos and ledgers and treasures and wallets. And I think this is important because it says Bitcoin's worth $300,000 recovered by breaking zip encryption. Not just found, but breaking by an encryption. So I go on to read this and it says here, Bitcoin private keys found by cracking InfoZip. The author, Mike Stay, has a PhD in computer science and an extensive background in cryptography dating to the 1990s. He discusses how he was contacted and hired to crack an encrypted zip file from a man that read a paper he had written on the subject almost 20 years ago. The file contained the private keys to USD $300,000 worth of Bitcoins purchased in 2016. Yet the man had forgotten his password. Shout out to Peter Schiff. He forgot his password to his private key. He had $300,000 worth of Bitcoin on it. He contacted somebody else who talked about cracking an encrypted zip file and reached out. So let's see what he says here. He says, back in January 2016, he had bought around 10K or 15K of Bitcoin and put the keys in an encrypted zip file. Now they were worth up to $300,000. That's a nice little investment. Talk about hodling. And he couldn't remember the password. Luckily, he still had the original laptop and knew exactly when the encryption took place. Because InfoZip seeds its entropy using the timestamp that promised to reduce the work enormously, only 10 quintillion, and made it quite feasible. That's a lot of options, 10 quintillion only. A matter of a couple of months on a medium GPU farm, we made a contract and I got to work. It is important to note that at no time did Stay crack the code to the keys themselves, nor did he compromise any other element of the Bitcoin protocol. Rather, he merely found the password to an encrypted zip file which could have contained any information. There you go. So he was able to get in there and do, his computer thing. I'm a geek and a nerd, but I'm not at that level. He was able to do that and figure out their passwords, basically. they're secret keys. They're, that 26 code or 23 code, depending on what you have, that you press that in and then boom, you're in. He was able to crack it. What I'm not sure, does it say how much time it took? Nope, doesn't say how much time it took here, but he did it. That's impressive, and this guy got his 300,000. But you see, he had to have his exact laptop, knew exactly when the timestamp was, and talk about buying and sitting. I mean, he got that in. Wow, that's a good little investment there. 4 years, 300,000. Now he's going to hold, probably sell. We'll see what happens with that. But it continues to say the act raises security questions. Experts agree that the encryption behind Bitcoin and most other top altcoins is extremely secure, and the attempts to crack private keys using presently available techniques would be futile. Nevertheless, there remains a risk of theft or loss if such keys are not stored properly. Unfortunately, all too often, crypto investors store keys and passwords in unencrypted files, or they follow other lax procedures to put their coins at risk. Sometimes, as outlined in Stay's story, they do not keep track of their passwords. It is well known that almost all cryptocurrency theft and loss is due to user error. Shout out to Peter Schiff, user error. Anyway, so point is, make sure that you keep your stuff. I use a Ledger Nano X and I have an S. I used to have a Treasure, but I prefer my Nano. I got an app that connects with it. It's pretty good. If you have one, go get one. I know I'll probably, when we get more followers, I'll start to do giveaways and stuff like that. But, Crypto Zombie gives one out every Monday. Tyler S., who's also a TA guy, he gives a Nano out, I think, every 2 weeks or something like that. So there are places where you can earn Nanos. If you got the extra money, I think you should invest. I went on Amazon. I went on the Nano site, Nano Ledger site, and I purchased one myself. I actually got a little 2-pack. So I would definitely say you should do that, okay? Let me know what you guys think about this. Do you believe hacking will become more? I know I saw something on Kirby's YouTube back a while ago about quantitative computers being able to crack these codes in 7 years. I'll look into that more, but what do you guys think about that? Leave your questions and comments below and let me know. Let's move on to the next story. All right, so this is something else here. Now, I'm also an investor of Stellar Lumens. I know that Digital Asset Investor was talking about this the other day, how he is an investor in both of these, but more Ripple. He's in the XRP community, and I just happened to come across this article that kind of blew my mind here, and it's from crypto-news-flash.com, and it's titled Rumours. Does IBM rely on Ripple instead of Stellar Lumen? Now, if you guys don't know, Ripple and Stellar Lumen, the guy who created Ripple Stellar Lumen used to work for Ripple, broke off, did the same thing, so their concept is kind of the same. It actually really is pretty much the same. Ripple just has the power behind it right now. This article was published 3 months ago. Now, it doesn't give an exact date, but it was written by Colin Brown. And let's see. The key here says, currently a LinkedIn job description by an IBM employee is causing a stir in the Ripple community. Vera Shah is therefore testing a proof of concept that uses RippleNet to perform interactions on the blockchain for participating banks. And the article goes on to say here, IBM has long worked with the Stellar Foundation to revolutionize cross-border payments using Stellar Lumens technology. On September 1st, 2018, Stellar officially announced that they are developing the WorldWire payment service in cooperation with IBM. The service will use the Stellar protocol to process thousands of transactions in a very short time at very low fees. Very similar to what Ripple's doing right now across all boards. We know that they're partnered with Microsoft and all these other things, but IBM's a pretty big thing there for Stellar to be, with IBM, which is back in 2008. That's pretty big. It goes on to say here, the tech giants claim that the company works with 97% of the world's largest banks and that this step could therefore have far-reaching implications for the further development of the Stellar project, according to the description of a LinkedIn profile. IBM could have been working on the use of RippleNet technologies for some time. And it asks the question, is IBM exploring the use of Ripple payment software? The Ripple community is currently hotly debating and speculating whether IBM developer Viral Shah, based in Mumbai, India, is researching RippleNet. The overview page of his LinkedIn profile describes that Shah is working on the development of a proof of concept that uses RippleNet. Ooh, that's interesting there, huh? IBM had in the past, as already described, confirmed only a cooperation with Stellar. However, the former head of the blockchain department of IBM, Jesse Lund, caused a sensation in February this year. He announced in an interview that IBM is relying on the Stellar protocol, but also taking a closer look at other digital assets. Interesting. And the guy puts his opinion in here. He says, so I think with Ripple, they're looking at XRP as their primary digital asset for settlement. For us, it could be Lumens, it could be Ripple, it could be XRP even. It could be Bitcoin, but it would also probably include other instruments like stablecoins and even eventually, soon, hopefully, CBDC or central bank digital currencies. He also says participants on the network should be able to choose and negotiate their choices in real time, and the pricing might be different depending on the settlement instrument you use. So when I look at this, I would say it's a good thing to say, what kind of email platform do you like to use? Right? You can use the Google email, you can use a personal email, you can use Apple's email. You have a choice in what you like to use. They all do the same thing, they all move, they all run on different platforms. You can use them anywhere, they're all integrated together, and you can use them all. So I think it's important to understand that XRP is not going to be the only one that does it on its own. There will be others, and as Digital Asset Investors said the other day, XRP is firmly in the driver's seat, and then there will be others there. And, Brad Garlinghouse agrees that 99% are going to go away, but depending on the use case, that's what's going to go. And we know we're moving towards CBDCs. We know we're moving towards digital assets. We know we're moving towards a one world currency where the governments have to move all the money at once or between each other quickly, fastly, as fast as information moves. And here's another one. So Stellar is something we already invest with. I already invested. I also invest in XRP. Again, not financial advice, but it's something you can look into, okay? Tell me what you guys think of that as well. Leave that in the comments. I got a couple more stories for you here. So we have the Financial Times. This is an article that I have found, and I've actually really enjoyed this website. It has caught my eye. It says here, let's see, Wells Fargo intensifies bid to remove asset cap. Okay, it says, U.S. lender says without regulatory relief, it has more small businesses demand than it can handle. This was written by Laura Noonan in New York about 3 hours ago from this date, so on April 6th. And it says here, Wells Fargo says it already has more demand than it can handle for the federal government's Small Business Rescue Program. We talked about that already earlier from Christina, where she mentioned about the SBA and the government loans. And then I showed you yesterday or 2 days ago how Bank of America is denying almost everybody if you don't have a credit card or if you're not in debt. If you're in positive cash statement already, if you're a Bank of America customer, they will not allow you to get an SBA loan, even though the government says they're going to give it to you. But it says here, increasing pressure on regulators to free the bank from a cap of assets imposed after a fake account scandal 2 years ago. So here's what, right off the bat, so if you guys don't know, Wells Fargo was fined, $3 billion or something like that. Recently, $1.3 billion, because they created a bunch of fake accounts. They defrauded all their customers. They stole from their customers. They charged their customers. And then they basically changed all the accounts. By the way, this is the same company that Berkshire invests in, where they have the majority of shares, which is where Warren Buffett basically is the owner of. And he said in an interview he believes his banks are doing just fine. And we know that he hates crypto. So he says on the outside, until you dig and see that he owns a lot of things in crypto. It doesn't matter. But Wells Fargo basically is cheated and stolen, and now they've been punished, and now they're saying they can't do their job because they have handcuffs on that they created for themselves. And it goes on to say the San Francisco based bank said on Sunday night that it could lend just $10 billion to companies appealing for help under the $350 billion scheme designed to get money into accounts of small business owners at risk of going bust as the coronavirus pandemic shuts down the activity. So they say they can only give $10 billion out because if they don't give out more, then they're going to go broke. They're complaining that they're in trouble and they want to give more out, but they can't give more out. You're not even being charged to give it out. You're being paid to give it out. So that makes no sense to me. Anyway, it says here that means that Wells, which has a $1.9 trillion balance sheet and has a 9% share of the U.S. loans market, will do just 3% of lending for the scheme, which is being overseen by the SBA, Small Business Administration, and has been beset by delays since its launch on Friday morning. Announcing that Wells has reached its limits for SBA loans, Chief Executive Charlie Sheriff stressed that his bank continues to operate in compliance and an asset cap imposed by its regular due to action past leadership. He says here, while we are actively working to create balance sheet capacity to lend, we are limited in our ongoing ability to use our strong capital and liquidity positions to extend additional credit. He added, pointing out that Wells had extended nearly $70 billion in new loan commitments in March to help clients through the crisis. Wells is also donating all fees from the program to nonprofits that support small businesses. So, hey guys, look how good we're doing. We just had to pay $1.3 billion for fines because we screwed over all of our customers, but now we're handcuffed, and we really wish that you guys would let off the handcuffs so we could do our job and give money to the small businesses that really deserve it. As long as they're in debt with us, we'll give them money. That's kind of what they're saying. And I'm one of those boohoo banks, period. I mean, you see right now, here's a perfect example. Did your credit card percent go down? How much your credit card is? Some of you guys got 5, 10, 15, 20, 30%. Did your percentage go down overall? How about any of the stuff that you're in debt with? Did your percentage get lowered? No, it did not. But guess what? The banks, what they owe, their percentage was lowered to 0. Oh, by the way, why don't you check and see how much it costs you now to keep your money in the bank? Did you see that it hit negative interest rates? Negative interest rates means they're now charging you to hold your money. Oh, not to mention, have you seen that they're not letting you take out all your money if you wanted to? This is an issue, but the banks complain. I will not talk about who I support and who I don't support, but one thing that I don't like about, and I strongly disagree with the banks, is in the large corporations, they're getting all the breaks, all of it. Large corporations, not small businesses. Small businesses are allowed to get loans that they have to pay back. The small business, the corporations don't pay them back. They're just printing $1 million a minute. $1 million a minute. Or was it a second? That's a big difference. That's 60 seconds. However, that's a lot. And they're just be giving. But the banks are saying, we gave out all this. You guys are getting paid double. We heard her say 5% interest that the small business has to pay and the 5% interest that the government is giving them for giving it out. That's crazy. Stop complaining. You're handcuffed. You guys shouldn't have stolen $1 billion. Over $1 billion. If you guys were fined $1 billion, you stole at least $1 billion. So I think that's just insane here. Let me guys know what you think. I'm going to move on from this article because these guys are the ones who started the problem. Wells Fargo is the problem. They are the problem. And they are still saying we need to remove the regulatory help. Let us take over control so we can burst this bubble again and give loans to everybody. Take us off punishment. Let's move on to another bank. Goldman seizes Luckin Coffee shares from chairman after $518 million default. It says this was written by Don Whelan in Wuhan. Let's see here. It says Goldman Sachs said it would seize and sell Luckin Coffee shares from the chairman of the scandal hit chain after he defaulted on the terms of $518 million margin loan. Luckin went public in New York last year with the lofty goal of displacing Starbucks in China, but announced last week its revenues have been manipulated, sending its shares down 80% since then. Woohoo! They dropped 80% in a week? Oh man, that's like a crap coin. Goldman on Monday said it was seizing the shares as collateral on the margin loan facility to Luckin chairman Liu Zhenghao. It would then convert them into American depository shares and sell them to recoup losses on behalf of the syndicate of leaders. After the value of shares and ads fell sharply again on Monday, the stake claimed by Goldman would be worth $350 million, implying a loss of about $168 million. So we basically see here, I just want to show you this big business going out, that Goldman, quote unquote, seized it. They got it for pennies on the dollar, 85%, and then they're going to flip it and sell it and go from there. They didn't say they were closing the business. They said they're going to resell the business. So they're still making money. They took the money from a guy who's obviously hurting, but they manipulated it. So China businessmen messing with numbers, telling us things that we already know. But for some reason, our banks and our government still do business with them when they manipulate a lot of numbers. I'm not telling anything that's not true, guys. But I want to read here real quick. It says the expansion was fueled by a backing from a list of top private equities, including BlackRock. Now, the reason I say that, because BlackRock, by the way, is also an investor in Ripple. I'm just going to leave it at that. We'll go into that another day. But that's the first person listed. BlackRock was also mentioned about the loans for Stephen Mnuchin the other day by a reporter. BlackRock is in everything. They own all the banks, basically. And the banks that own everything, they own. So anything BlackRock is behind, it's big. So I just think that's pretty important. I just wanted to point that out. And let's move on. Let me know what you guys think about that. As banks are saying they're broke, they're buying up other people's debt. And the last thing here is that I just thought I'd end on this story, which is crazy to me. It says, Wall Street extends global rally on hopes virus is slowing. Equities rise sharply as coronavirus shows signs of peak in continental Europe. And this was written by Eva Sasley and Phillips Georgordadis in London and Hudson Lockett in Hong Kong. It says here, the U.S. stocks extend their early gains on Monday as Wall Street joined in global rally following signs that coronavirus outbreaks may be stabilizing in some of the worst affected countries. The benchmark S&P 500 was up 5.6% by lunchtime, while the Dow Jones and NASDAQ composite recorded similar gains. They followed the course set by Asian and European stock markets, with London FTSE 100 closing 3.1% higher and the Pan-European stock 600 rising 3.7%. So all of a sudden, now here's the thing. All the governments, every single one of them across the world, are trilling out money. Japan just dropped $1 trillion yesterday or today. Pushing money, and then saying, oh, the stock market's getting better because the coronavirus might go away. No, because again, I've stated, if it was getting better, people would be going back to work. How are the stock prices rising when no one is spending money? How are the stock prices rising when people are losing their jobs? How are the stock prices rising when the feds are printing money? How is the dollar getting better if people are printing money? Because the money is going to the corporations, it's being flipped, and they're doing buybacks again. They're doing it again. They're literally taking the money and putting it back into their economy. They're firing and laying off people, but they're still making money. And the government is also paying them to pay people to work, to put people to work. Do you guys see the light? Do you see these people are printing money because they know the system is going to be reset soon? The economy is being pushed up until it can't no more. But does that make any sense? 10 million people, which is almost combined total in a long time, like everything behind you, that many people have been laid off, but somehow the stock market has made 20% gains all over the world. 3%, 7%, 6% here, up. People are, Wall Street is the only one making money. You see, it says here, the title of this article is Wall Street Extends Global Rally on Hopes Virus is Slowing. More and more people are dying every day. I don't know what you believe about the COVID-19 or 5G or whatever you may believe. People are still dying. People are still not going to work. And in Illinois now, family members aren't supposed to go shopping together anymore. It's supposed to be individual. In New York, you can't go out. In Florida, in Miami, right, you have a curfew. In New York, I think they have a curfew too. In LA, Governor Newsom has now closed parks and not let people go certain places. Places are shutting down. I think that's Chicago, Miami, New York, There's other states that are having lockdowns, and LA for sure. But for some reason, these people aren't going to work. But the stock market's still going up. Something's going to happen. It's a balloon that's going to pop. It's going to pop hard. And it might not be tomorrow. It might not be later this year. But when it pops, I think it's going to be interesting. I think in reality, to be honest, if I'm going to give my opinion on this podcast, I say 2024 to 2025 is when we will see everything fall. A lot of reasons behind that, but I believe Trump will get reelected because there's no one that will go against him. And he right now is controlling the Fed, and he's controlling all the money, and he's going to move the CBDC forward. He's going to move all this new financial things forward with the IMF. And we'll see that. So I don't know. That's just my opinion there. You don't have to listen to it, but I do want to know what you think. Tell me what you guys think, because that's pretty much the end of the stories today, guys. I truly, truly appreciate what you guys have brought to me. We're getting subscribers on YouTube. We're getting followers on the podcast. Shout out to all my followers. I got 18 up to 65 of the people who are listening to this podcast or watching it. Thank you so much. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think humans will be currency? Do you like that the government wants to pay you, wants to make money off you twice, control all your finances, the banks, Wall Street? Went over a lot of stuff here. Whatever touched to you, whatever you like, reach out, let me know. Again, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Google Podcasts, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, Spotify, and of course YouTube. Don't forget our Twitter is @NewCreationCap. You can hit us up there. I will get back to you as soon as I can. You can find all of our content on publishox.com, a place where if you put your stuff up or you want to start a blog, you get paid to have a blog, which is pretty awesome. They tip you. Just like I use the Brave browser. As well, I do my best to try to earn cryptocurrency wherever I can, okay? As always, I'm going to close with my scripture, and it's going to be today, guys, from Psalm 23, and it is titled, "The Lord is my shepherd," and it goes like this. "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in a path of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever." Guys, I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Just know God's got this. God's got your back. No matter what your faith is, he is the God of all creation. Thank you guys for listening to New Creation Capital Podcast. My name is Christian Israel. This is a place where we discuss what happens in the world today. We talk about the stories that focus on current events, the stock market, and digital assets. This is a new you, a new future, and a new creation. You guys can support us. You can leave us a message, and you can tune in. Thank you guys as always. As I just said, and I always like to say, remember guys, buy low, sell high. This is a new you, a new future, and a new creation. Until next time, guys, peace and love. Later.